Welcome everybody to this very short but very special episode of Eclipse of Fire Podcast, where today we'll be reviewing the newest Blumhouse movie, Ma. So, enough talking, let's get started.
How does it feel to be on the outside, looking in? Let's get this party turned up.
Why are you doing this?
This is the most fun I've had in a long time.
So, by the time I'm recording this, which is June 3rd, 2019, I've seen Mom this past weekend. And what I think of it? It's a 50-50 in my book. Sure, there are some interesting points in this movie, but there's also some points where I felt they could have expanded upon or could have made longer, in my opinion. And I will go into that more as this podcast keeps going on. But for right now, I'm just going to give the thought about what this movie is about. So, if you haven't seen the movie yet, as of by the time this comes out, either on the various audio streaming platforms or on YouTube, stop it right here and then go watch the movie and then come back, because I'm going to go into spoilers. If you've already seen it, here we go. Ma tells a story about a girl who moves into a new town and makes friends with the popular kids in her school. During their time, they try to get adults to buy them alcohol at a local store, and they come across Sue-Ann, who will eventually be nicknamed Ma in the movie. She helps them get the booze, and in return, she also offers to let them use her basement for their get-togethers and parties. So, as the movie progresses, we see all these teenagers go to her house party. She basically becomes this popular person because of it. But in doing this, we get flashbacks where we see her past as someone who was once a nerd and she was becoming friends with the popular group before they humiliated her. So we see her deteriorating mental state because of this during the movie. She uses the friends that she helped as a way to get back that experience she never fully had, while also getting revenge on those who wronged her in the past. During the time she gets revenge, she runs over the girlfriend of her ex, and then kills her ex, and she also kills the vet who she was working for, who was just telling her to do her job throughout the film. And it actually plays well with how she's able to do these kills, because she's able to steal all these medicines and syringes in order to do the deeds. So it's kinda smart the way she does it. The interaction with the teenagers started off innocent, but as the movie went on, it became more and more intense and disturbing before leading to the final scene, which I'll talk about after I go into certain key points where I felt the line was totally crossed. For starters, she pulls a gun on them as a joke. I don't care who you are or how person you are. If someone does that as a joke, that is the sign you need to get the hell out. Second, when the group stops talking to her and starts listening to themselves, she makes up a cancer diagnosis in order to gain sympathy and to get people to come to her. Third, she stalks them at school. And fourth, she befriends the main girl's mom in order to get sympathy for the main girl, or to get close to the main girl. And it plays well also towards the final scene because it's revealed also that the main girl's mom was also part of the group of kids who bullied her in high school. So we get to the final scene, and she knocked all the characters out, and she begins to torture and mutilate them, which includes putting a hot iron on a person's skin, sewing a person's mouth shut, painting a person's face white. She said something about how there can only be one of us, and the person she does it to was also the black guy in the group. She stabs the main character's boyfriend in the stomach, and then she starts to hang the main girl from the ceiling. Now, before the girl gets killed, Sue's daughter, Jeannie, who at this point in here has been introduced 2 other times in the movie, once at the beginning, once in the middle, when the main girl and her friend broke into the house earlier in the movie, and she knocks out her mom, which leads to a fire breaking out, because when she fell down the stairs, she knocked over a bunch of candles, and the entire basement's on fire. Jeannie goes down there, saves the main girl, and they untie everyone else, and as soon as they bang on the door that leads outside, the main girl's mom and her friend actually releases them, and they all leave. But not before Sue-Ann grabs Jeannie and are about to kill both of them by going in the fire. During the time here, the main girl's mother actually apologizes to Sue-Ann for all the stuff she did in high school. And while that happens, the main girl grabs a knife and stabs her in the back. And they all escape. The movie ends with Sue-Ann going up the stairs, with the stab wound in the back, mind you, going up to the bed that has her dead ex, lying down there and accepting her fate as the fire engulfs the house, and the movie just ends. The movie was a decent watch in my book, but at the same time, there are some certain missed opportunities that could go in for this movie that could have made it a far much better experience than it was. So, I'm going to go into some pros and cons here. Pros? I actually loved Octavia Spencer in this movie. I wasn't expecting her to have this scary villain role, but she totally pulled it off here. In the past movies and shows we've seen her, she's always been this soft, kind-hearted person, but here, she's just relentless and brutal. It's a total change in who she can be, and shows us that she is an amazing actress. And I really hope she gets more movies like this in the future. And there were parts that were intense suspenseful, and I legit curled in my seat during some of the scenes here. One scene where the two people who broke into the house, the main character and her friend, actually had to sneak out of the house while Sue-Ann was in the house. That part was suspenseful, and I was on the edge of my seat there. Another scene was where she mutilated the teens, and that includes actually hearing the sizzle of an iron on human skin as it happens, and seeing the burns as it happens. Seeing the graphic detail of a needle going through lips as she was sewing another person's mouth shut. And also the stabbings and the hangings and all that. Basically also the death scenes. They were brutal to watch. And at times they were creative also. But those are just the pros. What are the cons? Well, for starters, the movie could have done a lot more with this concept, and it could have been longer in my book. You could have explored more of Sue-Ann's past, show her failed marriage, and show how after high school her life changed to the state it's in now, from when this moment of humiliation started to where the story takes place during the movie. You could have shown a little bit more about that, and also showed how her mental state started to get messed up as well. Also explain how and why she is making it look as if her child has a disease, because it didn't really touch up too much in this movie. I think there was some throwaway comments, but I would want to know why she's doing this more. Also, the ending could have been longer than what it was. It could have easily been another 5 or 10 minutes of epilogue or changes that could have fixed it, and I'm going to go more into this little detail right here. The movie ends right when the fire in the house breaks out, and Ma gets into bed with Ben, and that's the end. You could have at least had an epilogue to show how this experience changed the lives of all those who survived, and also answer the question of what happened after, what lasting scars did it leave. And also explain, did Andy, the guy who got stabbed, survive it? Because the last time we see the movie, we see him get carried out, and he's unconscious. So it will be interesting seeing more interactions if he did survive in the epilogue, because it just leaves everything unanswered, and I want to know who survived, who didn't, and what happens next for the guys, and how do they use this as an experience to become better people for themselves and people around them. And I would also like to know what happened to Jeannie, because we see her escape with everyone else, and I want to know what happens to her. Does Child Protective Services intervene? Does she get adopted by the main character's mom? What happens? And also, did the dog survive? Because in the movie, Sue-Ann actually drew a lot of blood from the main character's dog, and the last time we see the dog, they said that his breathing was slow. So, did the dog make it? Did the dog not make it? Who knows? That's also something in the back of my mind. Another thing that should have been done was to make some of the death scenes more powerful than they were. Two of the big ones was when Sue-Ann ran over the ex of her ex-boyfriend and then killed her ex-boyfriend. And they were fine, they were intense, they were scary, they were squeamish in my book, but they could have done more for it. And this is what I would have done. For the death of the girlfriend, when Sue-Ann runs over Mercedes, it was just a hit and run. You should have had her run over Mercedes, but then Mercedes was still alive. Sue-Ann would have gotten out of her car, go over to Mercedes, give a little conversation to her, where Mercedes finds out it is Sue-Ann, have Sue-Ann drop the C-bomb at Mercedes, get back in her car, and then run her over again, killing her. And for Ben's death, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, why are you still here? Go watch the movie and come back. But in that scene, it looks as if she was about to cut off his junk. And they should have done it and make it poetic in a way, because the way she got humiliated was that she basically got bait and switched, where her and Ben were supposed to go in a closet and form a sex act, but it turns out to be someone else, and Ben basically punks her for that. What she should have done was cut off his member, and then as he's screaming and bleeding in pain, stuff it in his mouth, and then duct tape it shut. In my book, that would have been sweet poetic justice for what he did to her. And then have it be him choking to death while also bleeding to death. I don't know, it just seems like that would have been a far more entertaining death scene in my book. And then also, make the characters more interesting. You notice how I said Sue-Ann's name, the ex-girlfriend's name, and Ben's name? Because I felt those were the more interesting characters in the movie, as opposed to the main ones you were supposed to be following. I can't even remember their names. And that's not just by choice, it's because as of writing this, I didn't put any of the names there, and then by the time I'm recording this, I still don't fully know their names by heart. But it shows you that they're cliches. They're simple characters supposed to follow. They're pawns in the story that the main villain can move around, do whatever they want. Because I was more drawn to the villain, to the bad guy, to Sue-Ann, more than the characters supposed to mope with and hope they're okay. And keep in mind, I still want an epilogue where we find out what happens to them and how this experience changed them. But at the same time, Sue-Ann was the most entertaining character in this whole movie. And I felt that whatever passion that they put for her character, they should put more of that into these characters. But that's just me. After all I said, is this still okay movie? Yeah, there's parts that were good, parts that are not good, but in the end, you're not really wasting your money. The movie is successful, keep in mind. As of recording this, the movie has a budget of $5 million, and after this weekend, it's already made $20 million. So, it made its budget back, it made whatever marketing money they used for it back, and they have leftover money for everything else. Should changes been done? Yes, it could have been far more entertaining than it was. Does it have still any flair that makes it fun to watch? Yes, there are some parts to it, and honestly, if this does come out on DVD or digital, I would rent it to watch it again because it was a fun movie to watch. And I can't really say anything too bad about this movie given how it comes from Blumhouse, and they really are revolutionizing the whole horror movie scene. It's not a bad movie. I just want to get that out there. It's a good movie to watch. Octavia Spencer's amazing in it and everything. And of course, Blumhouse is a great studio for this type of movie because they're low budget, but they really can give you a whole lot of what they got. I just felt this movie could have done more. They could have expanded more stuff. They could have made the characters more interesting. Don't change Sue. Sue is amazing, but we could have also got more backstory from her and everything. Just more stuff should have been done. And I know it's kind of a pipe dream to mention, but when they eventually do release this movie on DVD Blu-ray, I hope it comes with an alternate ending or extended ending where it talks about more what happened after, because this movie has the makings of being a classic. It really does. But with what it's at now, I feel people are going to have more questions than answers when I watch it again. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Eclipse of Fire Podcast. I'm sorry it's short, but my voice hasn't been doing too well, so I won't have time to let that rest, because I have a big video I have to work on that's not going to be out next week, but will be out the week after. So, subscribe to the YouTube channel, click the notification icon, follow me on Twitter, ProductionEOF, for any updates and news regarding the next video, because this is an important one for me. Anyway, if you want to continue the conversation about Ma, if you watch this on YouTube, go in the comments down below and continue it. We'll be respectful to everyone in the comments. And if you have any suggestions and comments, if you want anything talked about on the podcast, shoot me a comment in YouTube or tweet it at me at ProductionsEOF, #EOF Podcast, and give me a suggestion. I'm your host, Crib Temporary, and I will see you guys next time.